We'll head back to the Slate main menu, and now we'll quickly go through the Slate Reader, which is the Slate evaluation tool. It's your third icon here, which we'll click. Again, pinned and recent, we'll go to the main reader. Nothing we're about to tell you is prescriptive. We're going to tell you different ways to use the reader and some basic functionality, but programs can use the reader in any way that makes sense for them. So if your program only wants to use the reader to recommend decisions, that's fine. If you want to do all of your evaluation in the reader, that's great, but do not think that there's any sort of set way that you must interact with the reader. So we've gone to the Slate Reader. One thing to note about the reader, if you're ever in the reader and you want to get back out to where you were, just click the main slate. We'll use that a lot. When you first enter the reader on the home button, you will see some basic ways to navigate, which are very helpful. If you move down to browse, you'll see the bin structure that we saw on the application side, and now this is going to be for all the applications that you have access to. So it will give you a very quick overview of how many applications you have in each different phase of the application process. So what in the in-progress applications are those that have not yet been submitted, so those are still being worked on. You can't take any action on those. You can see some basic information on those applications, but you can't actually move them to any of the recommendation bins. Applications that are in awaiting payment have been submitted that are not yet paid. Again, those applications are not eligible for review. Awaiting materials, you probably will not see any applications hit that status, or if you do, it'll be very rare. Those are missing a transcript, and a transcript's required for submission, so you shouldn't see much here. These are only test applications that we're using to test the system that are existing in that 6 there. Applications, once they move over, so the moves from the in progress to awaiting payment, those are automated. You won't move any applications through this column. Once applications move to the application review column, that's where programs can begin to move applications and take action on them. That's where we'll be using today. So if you go in to your program review first read bin, these are applications that are submitted and paid and that you have access to. You can always add filters here. We'll go back to browse to see that grand overview. If you want to just look at a subset of your applications, you can always use filters to do that. Because we're doing a webinar, I'm going to just look at test applications for this part to keep the numbers down and make it a little bit easier to look at. So we're just going to pull test records for all of my different bins here, and we'll show you how to look at an application. From the Program Review First Read tab, you can see different applications and where they are. So we will open an application. You can always open the pages of an application by clicking on the display copy here. That will open up the application. Again, you can use the arrows, you can drag and drop, and these are at the pages of the application that the applicant provided. Again, things that are black are here. Anything grayed out has not yet been submitted or is not required. From any application, you can always hover on the name here and click. And there you can email from the reader. You can see some basic information. You can go look up the application from that back end. That'll open a new tab, so you can always go right back to the reader. You can look at materials reports. You can edit and download a PDF from here. So those are the pages of the application. Clicking Slate will bring us back to our main menu. If you are a program who only wants to look at complete applications, for example, you can always go to Complete Application Grad School Preset, and then only your complete applications will show. That's really helpful for some. So if you ever are in here only want to look at complete applications, you can pull that complete application preset from the browse menu or from any individual bin here. And your numbers will update. Because we're only looking at test applications, it might be a small number. So from the browse, you can go into any one of your bins. So we'll go into Program Review First Read, and we can show you how to move an application through the reader. So again, you can open any application that you want to look at, or you can also highlight an application here by clicking, and you can multi-click if you want to choose more than one. So we'll open an application, or click it to add it to our queue. Adding an application to your queue does not remove it from the bin. It doesn't do anything to the application. All it really says is that I want to do something with this application. You're just sort of claiming that you're going to take some action, but other readers can have the application in their queue as well. It doesn't take it away. I like to think of it kind of as like a Netflix queue. So again, you can also do this from when you have the application open, the pages. You can add to queue through here. It will say yes. If you go back out to the main menu, you can see what's in your queue. So when you add an application to your queue and click on it, you can remove it, or you can review form, send to bin. That just means that you want to do something with the application. So if you click there, you can move the application through the reader. So you can add a reader and you can put it in someone else's queue. So if you have a reviewer that you want to look at this application, you can do that here. Again, you just type their name and it'll go, and you can say, hi, look at this, and leave notes. You also can move an application to different bins here. So the current bin will show is program review first read. You can move this one to the reader committee bin, for example, if you want your committee members to complete a review form. If the application has been reviewed and you're a program that does not do your reviews in Slate, you can also move this to a recommended decision bin. So you could say program deny or program admit from here as well, and that would allow you to complete the checklist. For the purposes of the webinar, we will move this to reader committee. Click send. And then if you go back out, you'll still be in your queue. You can see that the application that we just moved has left our queue, so we've taken an action. We'll go back to browse. So for the purposes of the webinar, we'll move to the reader committee bin. So now we'll go into the reader committee bin. And we'll see the application that we just moved there. And we'll pick it up. We'll open it. We'll add it to our queue. We'll say yes. And then the reader committee bin, if you have applications here, if you click review form, send to bin, you can have your faculty members complete a review form here. So we will do the reader committee review form option. And here, your committee members can page through the application and all the information and can go ahead and rate an application and give notes. They can choose different. It will keep a tally for you. You can recommend a decision to other reviewers, total rating, and then you can send. And we'll see. If we go into that application again, you can see in green here that a review form has been added, which is what we just did. So if you're ever in Slate and you see in the Slate Reader and you see green, that means something new since the last time you came in, and then you can go to see what the new item has. So that's how your readers can evaluate, and so you can have multiple review committee reader forms from multiple reviewers here. If you go back out, if you then know that your reviewers have done with the application and you're ready to make a decision on it, you can add it again to your queue. Right, so then you can then move it to review complete because you're done with the review. Send. And then you'll see that application hit your review complete. And then from here, you can recommend a decision. So you'll add to your queue. Review form, send to bin. And instead of choosing a reader, or you can choose to either admit or deny the application from here. So we'll go to program admit, and here you'll see your admit checklist. So you never have to navigate away from the application. You'll have your test scores and your educational history here, so you can easily see from the transcript that will be in the reader whether a GPA meets standards. If you ever click no, it will bring up a required justification box. Letters of recommendation will also be shown here, so you can choose that yes, they have 3 recommenders. You can determine whether the GRE scores meet recommended minimum guidelines and click yes or no. If you're a program that does not require the GRE, you can click not required. And then from here, you can enter a justification if you need to for anything that says no. You ask to admit the applicant. You give the reason, so either meet standards or does not meet standards. If you're a program that awards master's degrees en route to doctoral degrees, you can choose this box here, but only choose that if all of your admitted applicants will earn a master's degree en route to a doctoral degree. And then at the end, program admit should still be chosen here. And you can click send, and you will be recommending. Oops, I didn't do my application, my justification that was required. So you will be locked out unless you do that. And here, you'll send this to the graduate school so that we can process and review your admit recommendation. So you've seen now how to move an application that was submitted and paid from program review first read to reader committee, where your reader and committee members can complete the review form. And then you can move to review complete if you choose. And then from there, you can choose any sort of different program action. You can also choose the different program recommendations from the program review first read bin as well if you want to skip the reader committee bin. You also can add applications to an internally managed program waitlist, and you can also add applications to the interview bin if you want to interview some of your applicants before recommending admission or recommending a decision. You cannot move any applications from the reader into this decision column. These are applications that have been reviewed by the graduate school and released for decision. If you even attempt to move directly here, you'll be locked out. And also, you wouldn't be giving the system enough information. Navigate back to the main part of the reader, just click Slate, and you are back to your home page. You can always see recent applications by going here. You can see your queue by clicking your queue. If someone has added an application to you as a reader, you can also see that when you go to your queue. And you can see notes. You can annotate applications using the Slate Reader. You can always go right back to the reader by clicking that third icon there. The reader is great for moving one application through, and it's how you will need to put individual decision recommendations on every one of your applications. You also can use a query, though, to add applications to different bins that you have access to, and also to add different readers. So we'll navigate back to the queries. And again, we'll use that Test Friday query that we wrote. So we're going to run this query. For your output, choose bin and export. And from here, you can set the bin. So you can put everything in, let's say, the reader committee bin, because you know that you've isolated this population and you want your readers to look at these. So you can select all, you can select one, you can select the other, you can have a query of 400 and can select 200 of them. So you can move everything to one bin. Again, you can't do decision recommendations from here, but you can move down your review column bin, the program review bin or column. You also can add readers. So if you want to add readers to these, start typing a name, and you can put applications, all, from a query into different queues. So this is a great way to move more than one application at a time through the program column of the reader. You can move through the column, and you can also add readers, or you can just do one or the other. And then once you hit update, it will actually move those applications through the reader. So this is a way to access the reader from the query menu. Finally, one more item to show you from the queries menu that also interacts with the reader. If you go to your main query menu, if you ever want to back out of your folder, just click all folders. We're going to quickly create a new query just as an example. Name it. If you ever want to write a query that will be available to you in the reader, so if you're always in the reader and you only want to pull for one of your degrees with a certain criteria, choose the reader folder when you're creating your query. Click save. And then go ahead and write a query. So we'll choose term of fall 2019. And we will choose degree of Doctor of Philosophy. And we will choose major in biological and biomedical sciences. And we'll look for applications that have just been submitted. So if you ever want to look for submission status, type in application submission status, or application submitted. We'll choose this one. And we'll choose for just submitted. You don't even need to do any exports here, but we'll do some just because we're learning. We'll do name. Submitted. It's easy. So we've written a query. It's called reader test. You can go back to here. But also now, when you go to your reader and you go to browse, like earlier we showed the application complete status for the graduate school, you'll now see your reader test query available. So you can choose that and it will update your bins for just that criteria. So just what we said. So term, fall 2019, the degree we chose, the major we chose, and the submission status that we chose. You can edit from here as well. You can edit from the query menu, but that will update those. So some programs that have more than one degree within them sometimes just want to look at one degree. So they can have a query for each one of their degrees here. And that's an easy way to manipulate your data within the reader. If you ever have questions about Slate, please email gradadmissions@unc.edu for sort of policy and applicant questions. And for technical questions, UNC Slate support@unc.edu. Thanks so much.